Hello, everybody. This is Feel the Burn podcast presented by BurnCitySports.com. It's Rowan Donaghy. I got Jacob Harden, Franklin Miller, Lamar Fields, Chris Denson. Everybody's on. Everybody's here with us today. We got a lot to jump into. The Suns, they just keep on winning. We'll get to that in a minute. Cardinals season is just about over. We're going to talk about a few things there with coaching and what we want to see from there. Cardinals got a bye week coming up this week. Diamondbacks is about 100 days away, but first we're going to jump into this Cardinals with the bye week and the season being over. Jacob, I'll start with you. What do you think is next as far as the coaching and the culture going on with the Cardinals?
I think when you're looking at what Cliff Kingsbury has brought to the team so far throughout his 4 years, he has a 28-32 record. There have been one winning season. He had one break-even season, and this will be a second losing season. It's not something that when the Cardinals brought him in, when they extend him over the offseason, this is the exact opposite of what they wanted. And you have the talks of Sean Payton going around. He's not choosing, but he's stating he's interested in the Cardinals. He's interested in the Chargers. And when you have a guy like Sean Payton, who 152-89 record as a head coach, 631 winning percentage, he's a guy that has a winning culture. He was in the playoffs 9 out of his 17 years. He won a lot, and that's, I think, what the Cardinals need right now. There's a lot of controversy going on with Kyler Murray and whether he's the problem or if it's actually Cliff Kingsbury. And I think the only way to find out is if the Cardinals do something with their coaching change to really see if Kyler Murray maybe isn't that guy or if they're just really not using to his full potential.
Off of that, I did have the question. I don't know if you want to keep going on this or if Lamar wants to jump in. How long do you think you think he'll finish out his contract, the massive contract he signed before this season?
I think there's no reason why they shouldn't. I think he should stay a Cardinal as long as they can keep him. He hasn't. He's had a little drawback this year offensively. Let me pull some stats real quick from what he's produced so far this year as a starter. He's currently 24th in the NFL in passer rating, 33rd in yards per attempt, and 6.1 yards per attempt, and then he's 22nd in touchdown percentage, only 3.6%. So yes, his stats are they're not as good as Cardinals are used to. But I think you can also look at the coaching. And like I said, the only way to figure out if Kyler Murray is the problem is if we let go of Cliff Kingsbury. So for me, I don't think they should let go of Kyler yet. He's doing everything he can from what it looks like, and they need to hold on to him. They drafted him in the first round for a reason.
So it sounds like not if, but when. Lamar, I'll ask you this question. You think they're gonna wait till the offseason, or you think Cliff will be gone before the offseason? And what do you think needs to be seen in the next couple of weeks to close this season out to give them some good momentum going into the offseason?
I think they gotta get a little bit more healthy and start playing a little bit more better. I mean, they got a lot of injuries on the offensive line, and you can have all the skilled players and the good skilled players in the world, but if you can't block up front, it don't really work. But I think this thing ready to be on to the end of the season, and if the Sean Payton question is Sean Payton really interested in the Cardinals job, you gotta go after him, give him what he wants. With the players the Cardinals got on offense there, with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown, imagine Sean Payton with that offense, man. They'd be a top 5 offense easily.
No, I can see it, man. It definitely sounds like a dream. Is there anybody else in the coaching realm that you've heard or anything? I know it was talking about Vance Joseph at one point also. Or you think it's just strictly everybody's trying to get Sean Payton at this point?
I think although they've given up the second most points in the league, it's deceiving. A lot of people can point fingers at their defense. They're giving up a lot of points, but I think the fourth quarter of their loss against the Chargers was a perfect example of what's going on. When you have 3 straight 3-and-outs on offense and their defense is getting stop after stop after stop, that's eventually going to give in. That's exactly what happened. So, yes, their defense gave up 25, but their defense played excellent. They were tired out towards the end. The offense couldn't produce. When you're looking at who they played, you got the Eagles, 49ers, Vikings, Raiders. Who else you got in here? You got the Chiefs. They're playing top 10 offenses almost every week. And the Cardinals offense, that's the offense that's supposed to carry this team, not the defense. So if the offense is only averaging less than 23 points per game, you're not going to be able to win any games because it's supposed to be this is an offense team, not a defense team. So the defense, I think, has done their jobs. There's no reason to let go of Jan Sochuk.
Yeah, to piggyback off what Jacob saying, that they was up, Cardinals up 24-17, and the defense held the Chargers 3 times, but the Cardinals offense went 3 and out 3 times in a row. That
Yeah,
can't
you
happen. You got to put the team away.
yeah, you
You're
got to be
going
able
from on fourth down your own territory, and the defense is having to take over the ball already in good field position for the Chargers offense. You're going to helping the defense out.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this team with health and better leadership at the coaching position. You think they should start try to get the best draft, start tanking? I mean, to get the best draft position.
No. I think they have a couple primetime games. They got the Patriots, and then they have the Bucks on Christmas. I think they need to win those games, even if they lose out. But as long as they win those 2 games, I think they need something. At least Kyler Murray needs something to get rid of that bad publicity. And if he can do that in front of a national audience, and really show that he was that guy at Oklahoma, he was that guy in high school, and he still is that guy. That's what they need right now. They need some momentum to carry into next year. They're still a really good football team. Their record doesn't show it. So I really couldn't think of any players that they are really needing. They have a lot of injuries, so it's tough to say. But I don't think there should be any reason for them tanking. I think there's a very small chance of them making the playoffs. They would have to win out. But they need to win some big games just to get their name out there again, to let everybody know that they're still the Arizona Cardinals who started off the season 7-0 last year. They have the talent to make a run.
Yeah, that's what's crazy about the whole Kyler and Cliff Kingsbury drama this year is how much hate they are getting after they went 10-1 last season, making the playoffs last season. I think that just shows the city that's ready for. I mean, after decades of almost winning, they're ready to start winning. They're ready to start winning fast. And I think that pressure is going to do good in the future as far as putting some pressure on the front office. Is there anything else on the Cardinals y'all got going on? I know they got a bye week going on now. Like Jacob said, getting prepared for the Patriots in 2 weeks, prime time.
Yeah, I mean, not much. The playoffs are pretty much out of the picture. Their schedule does, I will say, lighten up a little bit in the terms of they got the Falcons. Patriots are a beatable team. Broncos are now a beatable team, although it didn't look like that at the beginning of the season. And the Bucks are a beatable team, so they could end the season on a high note. It's going to be tough, as Lamar said. Their O-line's completely almost gone. They're playing with 4 backups, so they're not going to be able to do much. It'll be interesting to see if they keep Kyler Murray in, especially towards the end of the year with the hurt O-line. Maybe Cliff wants to take Kyler out. I don't think that would be a good idea just because you need to get Kyler as many reps as possible. But it could be an option just to preserve him from next year.
Yeah, that is the thing. The crazy thought to me is, though, just hearing you talk just now, if they do happen to win out or do something crazy like that, we still talking about firing Cliff at the end of the year if they end up close to 500 after how it started with all the injuries. And this is for anybody that has a thought on it.
Depends on what Peyton wants. If Peyton want to come, if Peyton want to come to Arizona, sorry, Cliff, bye.
Nah, that is a huge name, man. Sean Payton, definitely successful everywhere he's been.
Fans' pressure is definitely a big thing too. I mean, if they do struggle, I see a lot of stuff on Twitter about fans kind of rooting for them to lose because the more losses the Cardinals have, they're just an inch closer from a new head coach. So maybe it would be a good thing, but I think for momentum carrying into next year, maybe, like I said, win those primetime games, lose the rest. Maybe you'll get that new head coach and some good publicity.
No, yeah, that's the thing for sure. It's a fine line. But once the fans kind of turn on the head coach, it's kind of the writings on the wall, even if you went out. It's time for new leadership. What's this? This is 3rd season, huh? Cliff?
This is 4th.
4th? Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let's go ahead and move over to the association, to the hardwood, with the Phoenix Suns going on a hot stretch, winning 3 games out of the in 4 days over the weekend, playing Friday, Sunday, and Monday, winning all 3 games. Seems like it's the same old with the Phoenix Suns, no matter who's in the lineup, punch in or punch out. I'll start with you, Franklin, on the Suns. What impresses you the most? Just the consistency on their winning this season?
Well, I mean, for starters, yesterday was the Devin Booker show, dropping 44, and he's been phenomenal. So it starts with your best player on the floor. I would say he's been top 10 player this year. He was top 10 player last year, in my opinion. His defense has been phenomenal. A lot of people don't talk about that. He's a complete all around player now. That's amazing. He had 6 steals yesterday. He's been a better facilitator of the basketball. So just all things Devin Booker is like where it starts. And then I would obviously add on the depth of the team. I think the key acquisition of Damian Lee was huge. He's like Mr. Fourth Quarter for this team. He's super clutch. He allows a guy like Cameron Payne or Torrey Craig or any of the guys that may be struggling to sit while he comes in and helps out and helps get the team in the right note to end the game. I think their rebounding has been amazing. I think there's a key stat I saw earlier today on Twitter where it was like Torrey Craig and Jay Crowder's numbers. Jay Crowder's numbers from last year and Torrey Craig's numbers from this year are completely similar. So in terms of like points per game, rebounds, blocks, assists, both average like 12 to 11 points. And I think, and obviously he's shot similarly from the clip in terms of like 39% from 3, 37% from 3. So you get similar production from a Jay Crowder perspective with Torrey Craig, and then you get Cam Johnson and Chris Paul to come back. I think the sky's the limit for this team. And then to like just finish it off, their defense has been phenomenal. They're the only team in the league that's a top 5 offense and top 5 defense. They're all doing this with a lot of their players injured right now. So I think Monty Williams has created an incredible. Monty Williams and James Jones have created an incredible culture of winning for them, and they play a beautiful brand of team basketball where they spread the ball around. So the sky's the limit for this team. The only question really comes to can they finish the job when it comes to playoff time, and that's the only monkey they got on their back right now.
Yeah, being top 5 offense and defense though should definitely help come playoff time. That's the thing. Monday night, and Chris, you can touch on this if you want. I expected it to be run and gun, and them being off of the 3 games in 4 days, being tired, and the young Kings team, who probably I think they're one of the highest scoring teams in the league. For the Suns to come out and show the defense last night, and as Franklin said, Devin Booker just going off. What did you see the most in the last week or so with the Suns?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and to sum up what, Franklin was saying, honestly, I mean, the Kings just out king. I mean, the Suns just out kinged the Kings last night. I mean, they pretty much, made sure they played with up tempo, played fast. So, I mean, that was a game, honestly, where I was like, this is a test, because they have shown that they can be a playoff team. And so for the Suns to just come in and, on an away game at that, and just make it a down to the wire, back and forth affair. It was really impressive. I mean, they're on a 5-game winning streak now. I mean, that says a lot in itself for a team that's without a Cam Johnson, without a Chris Paul. Landry Shamet was kind of in and out for a hot second there. I mean, they've just been dealing with, things left and right. Like Franklin said, with Devin Booker, he's showing, people were really quick to write him off in that whole future of the league. You got your Jaws, you got your Lucas, you got your Tatums. And people were really quick to write him off after that playoff appearance last year. And I think he showed last night for a lot of people, he can do it on both ends, without, Chris Paul, because that was the big thing. With him being back there, being the main guy, can he do it? And to play like he did against them, I mean, it says a lot. Like you said, a team that's top 5 in offense and defense right now, it's pretty special. We saw DeAndre Ayton have a 2020 night the other night, and a lot of people are wondering for the money he's making, for the debacle of the offseason that he had, is he worth the money? Was he worth the drama? And I mean, it's showing he can be that guy. It just takes some time, but I mean, they're first in the West right now. Next game is against Chicago, which is a team that, they can be pretty good. They have their stretches where they may hit a wall, but I think that's a team that they could obviously, kick out that winning streak some more. So it's exciting to see.
Yeah, I thought last night was huge for sure. I thought they could have definitely packed it in after beating the Jazz on Sunday and taking in first place, travel to Sacramento and just not really give it their all. And they came out and did the exact opposite. You touched on them playing the Bulls tomorrow. After the Bulls, they got Bulls, Rockets, and then a Texas trip taking on the Spurs and Mavs Sunday and Monday. Um, I don't see this win streak like losing anytime soon. Not that they can lose any game
No.
in the NBA, any team could win. But this next week it's games. What do you see previewing that?
I mean, honestly, I mean, like you said yourself, they got the Spurs and they have the Mavs along with the Bulls. Like I said, the Bulls, I feel like it's doable. Spurs, I mean, they're kind of a team that can have a couple wins in here and there, but they're pretty much kind of in rebuilding mode. And then there's the Mavs, where that history speaks for itself, but the Mavs aren't what many people wanted them to be. They lost Brunson, Christian Wood coming over. They're trying to figure out how they're going to use him, and Luka's just kind of out there Lukaing by himself.
Oh
Like he's
yeah,
just kind of he's doing it all by himself, and that's not maybe the best way to do it. He's trying to figure it out with Kidd, and I'm not sure what's going on with Jason Kidd and trying to figure out those rotations. But once again, if they're still in the mix of trying to figure out how they're going to do everything, I mean, that's a team. The Suns, next man up, they've been able to figure out this whole time. They can steamroll the Mavs too, in my opinion, if as long as they, keep that same continuity that they've had. So I think they can keep it going. I mean, it has to end at some point. That's the thing. You have to lose one eventually, but in the West, where, a couple games separate the first and the 10th seed, you're just trying to, stockpile them while you can.
yeah. Get a
I want
couple.
to add on to that question a little. I think with the East, it's pretty clear who the competition is. You have either the Bucks or the Celtics. Who do you think the Suns' biggest competition is right now in the West?
Ooh, and like in the West,
Yeah,
Yeah, so if they're going to go to the Western Conference Finals, who's their biggest competitive match that they're going
I
to
mean,
beat?
obviously you can't count out the Warriors. Still, I know they're 11-10. In terms of like, if I have to discount the Warriors, though, I have been a huge fan of Utah. I think they've been a team that surprised me a little bit. I think they're well coached. They don't have I don't say they would have a star. They have a star player, but they have just a bunch of players that fit their scheme so well, and they shoot the three ball so good that they can give any teams fits. And both games against Utah have finished in by 1 point score. So they combined 2 points in both contests. Now, obviously, playoffs is a whole nother beast, so we'll see how Utah, finishes the season as we continue. But if I had to go based off of, they're a team that that I could see giving them maybe fits in a 7-game series, but also I can't discount the Warriors, and the Warriors are starting to figure things out now. They're on a little bit of a win streak. They're starting to figure out their defense. Steve Kerr's starting to figure out the rotation a little bit. Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's finally gotten to 40% shooting from three all of a sudden. So even though the Suns have beat them twice and they match up with them really well, I still think they're the biggest threats.
Chris, what
Yeah,
about you?
I think it's one of those things where it's it's still too early to call, but I think even before the season, I wrote a piece and I said that the biggest teams that I felt like you couldn't count out were the who was it? The Mavericks, the Warriors, of course, and then another team I said that was a sleeper besides the Nuggets were the Clippers. And you look at it now. I mean, the Nuggets are right there. I mean, I want to say they're number 2 in the
yeah.
West right now, but it
Against
just
the
doesn't
Islanders.
have it doesn't have the same field that I thought it would. Jokic is, I guess, maybe he's trying to figure out getting Murray back and trying to figure out that whole dynamic. The Clippers, you just don't know with them. It's always a question mark with Kawhi and if he'll be there, if he won't. And the Grizzlies, I mean, they can get there. Maybe they need more experience. But, I mean, on a way too early scale, I mean, maybe the Nuggets are their biggest threat. Maybe a sleeper team like the Kings will come in and maybe upset them. But as it stands, I honestly think that, the Suns really do have a huge chance to at least win the West again and go back to the finals like they did the year before. I mean, it's definitely a case to be made for it. There's a whole nother half to be played, still a little bit of this half of the season to be played, but they have a shot. They have a good shot.
Yeah, and I've just to piggyback off that real quick. I completely forgot the Nuggets. Nuggets are a big threat. They have one of the best starting fives in the league. They're Jamal Murray, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic. They're all like top 5 in like net rating this year, which
Yeah,
is
I love
like
the Nuggets.
so they're like one of the best starting fives units in the league, and they also have a really improved bench with Bones Highland to name a few, and so yeah, they would be an interesting matchup, especially to see how DeAndre Ayton fares up against Jokic, who's hard to stop at times.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
back to back.
Highland Bones is somebody I really think everybody would like. You could have the best bench, and you would still want to trade for somebody like Bones. Like he's just, I mean, he's practically unstoppable out there with his length and his agility. It's like you want a guy like that at least coming off the bench for you that you know he can pour it on. He can stay out there with starters. So they're a really good team. Injuries obviously are a thing. Hopefully they can, kind of stay healthy just so if that happens, we can see, hey, maybe we get that matchup. But they're a really good team.
Yeah.
Lamar, who you thinking in the West got the biggest chance at going at the Suns?
Right now, I would say either Denver or Memphis. Right now,
I like
but
Memphis a lot.
but in the long, but in the long, because Memphis got that depth and they get scoring from everybody. But I think in the long run, towards the end of the season, it's gonna end up being the Warriors because they battle tested. And they're gonna Clay Thompson's gonna get it together. Who knows? They might make a move here and there. So that's gonna
Yeah,
be a big thing too. Or make some of the biggest trades at the trade deadline.
the
Yeah,
I
Warriors
would
are
say the
definitely a
Clippers,
cheat
but you
code.
don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know if Kawhi and Leonard ever gonna. I don't think he's never gonna be the same. In my personal opinion, Kawhi Leonard.
No,
I
I
mean,
mean you get bulked up. You
Yeah,
get bulked up like that during the summer. You
yeah,
scare everybody, and
yeah,
then next thing you know, you're like back to same old load management
yeah.
Kawhi. It's almost
yeah,
like a smoke show. So it's
yeah.
like, all right.
I don't even want to jinx it, but I know like my hot take has always been like even if the Clippers are fully healthy by that time, if the Suns are fully healthy, I still like the Suns' chances like ahead of them. As crazy as that sounds, because the Suns are battle tested as well. Like they've been in that scheme for so long. Clippers have been in and out, man. Like they have no continuity with them. Like they have a bunch of talent, but they have not played together. It's similar to like similar situation what happened with the Lakers last year, even though the Lakers weren't as good, but like similar situation where like they don't have any continuity, any like time they played together for a full season. Suns have that for like the last 4 years. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I think John Wall said like at the beginning off season, he was like, "You got me." When he signed, he was like, "You got me, you got Kawhi, and you got Paul George. So you better watch out." And I literally thought when I watched that, like, if all of you are on the floor at the same time, then maybe we need to watch out. But lo and behold, that has not happened to much degree yet. So you know,
Yeah, nothing's coming out from Kawhi's camp on anything. He's keeping everything tightened up. Part of me thinks he went to the Clippers just to get out of the limelight a little bit. I'm gonna throw one team out there that nobody mentioned, and that's the Portland Trailblazers. Just to add to everything y'all said, I think the Trailblazers have picked up their defense, picked up a few pieces, and honestly, in the McCollum trade, them getting Josh Hart was big for their defense. Simmons been stepping up. I can see Portland and the Suns being one of those final two, final four teams in the Western Conference this season when it comes playoff time.
yeah. I mean, and you got to give Portland their credit. A lot of people were saying don't break up McCollum and Damian, but it ran its course. I mean, you
Definitely.
go get Hart, a guy that's going to give it his all. But I think the sleeper player that they got, which I mean, it was Jeremy Grant. I mean,
Yeah,
he is the fact that they were able to get him, and I forgot the exact, names, but I mean, they got him for a pretty good deal. And I mean, he's been filling in that void when either Damian Lillard can't get it going or he's out from injury. So, I mean, it's not a surprise really now that they're where they are. They literally just needed those, like you said, those defensive pieces to make it work. And I mean, it's pretty good to see. I'm not sure they, like you said, get all the way through, but they're a pretty good team.
yeah, and to piggyback off that too, I knew from the beginning of the season that the Trailblazers are going to be a sleeper team in the West because A lot of people, in my opinion, a lot of people probably didn't see it, but I thought they had a top 5 starting lineup in the Western Conference when you have guys like Damian Lillard. Now, a lot of people talked about Anthony Simons, especially the season he had last year. I thought he was going to be an up-and-coming shooting guard, and he's taken that next step. Them getting Jeremy Grant, like you said, was huge. He's a top 100 player. And also, Yusuf Nurkic is one of the most underrated centers in the league. And I believe like he's like been phenomenal since he's been healthy for them. So with them 4 in your starting unit and an improved bench, I think you have what they've gotten so far right now this season.
Yeah, definitely. The Jeremy Grant, the Syracuse alumni, dropped 40 points the other night in the game. I forgot who they played, but I saw he had 40. I think it was the
28 free throws, man.
Yeah.
Free throws.
Bananas.
I think it was a Suns game. The announcer just randomly announced, and he was like, for all of you wondering, like, Jeremy Grant has 28 free throws versus whoever they were playing. I was like, that is crazy.
I think it was against the Knicks.
I watched the Knicks. That's why I think it was. I was watching that game, and I was just blown away by him. But speaking of injuries, we spoke about it a couple times. Franklin, you got an update on Chris Paul at all?
Not this second. I know last week
I know he was
James Jones
at some point.
Yeah, James Jones kind of mentioned it a little last week that he was improving. I know he's been practicing, but I think they're still kind of evaluating where he's at right now. I think they're taking it slow because the right heel soreness. You don't want to when stuff like that or the back or anything like that, you don't want it to linger. So you kind of want to rest on it. So no updates for me right now. But it's something to monitor for sure going into next week.
We want to make sure that Achilles don't pop.
Exactly. Make sure.
And that was a thing. That was a thing. Like a lot of people were saying, don't quote me, but maybe it's.
I think that's what I'm thinking it is too. He's been out a long time for a sore heel.
Heel.
Because Cameron Payne had the same injury and he was back in a week. That's why I was like, That's why I was like, okay, something's not adding up.
I think you take away their winning streak or them at least doing good, and it's a lot more eyes on what is going on with him. It's literally a sore heel. I mean, he is in his 30s. He's in his mid-30s. He's at the end leg of his career. But once again, like I said, it's a sore heel. So, every time you hear, oh, well, he'll be ready to go when he's ready to go, it's like, all right, it's fine. We're winning. But I think if they were to drop a few, it'd be like, okay, what's going on?
But the thing is, he's been warming up, practicing. He looks. I wouldn't say he looks completely healthy, but he looks fine. It's not like from the standpoint he can barely walk or anything, or he's on crutches. So that's why I'm kind of curious what's going on.
And let me ask you this, and I think it's something that everybody just believes now. And you all can quote me or jump in on it, but even when he comes back, is he the starter at this point? Because Cameron Payne, he's not your typical starting point guard, but he's getting the job done. I think he's averaging 15 points since he was out or something like that.
Oh, he's been averaging close to 20 points per game.
Yeah.
But I'll say this though, with that, it's obviously, because of his relationship with Monty, I think he's definitely going to get the job back. That's just how it's going to be, and based on the contract he's worth and everything, and based off the way he facilitates, he's still one of the best assist artists in the league. So he's going to get a starting job back. But one thing I will say is, with Cameron Payne on the court, they're a lot more aggressive in terms of scoring the basketball. We can say what we want about Cameron Payne because sometimes he gets a little too crazy with the ball and sometimes doesn't look too quote unquote sexy when he's playing all over the place. But that man's aggressive and he has heart and he does not care. But he will drive, he'll shoot, he'll score. Chris Paul, he's kind of he kind of picks and chooses when he wants to shoot, and he's more of kind of get a pass first kind of guy. He's not as aggressive shooting the ball as he was in years past, which is a problem. But I know with Cameron Payne, I guess the tempo pushes a little bit more. And a lot of people, and there's a lot of more scoring options out there for everybody. So, that's a fair question though. But the answer, I would say, he's probably going to get his job back. He's probably going to get starting job back.
It's also important to know they're going to get someone for Jay Crowder, and It's not sure who they're going to get, but
yes, that is a whew. It's so funny because it's like you hear stuff. I think that was you, Franklin, that wrote on it. But it was like one of the games. I think they were like literally right there finna make a deal like right before the game for them, and then it fell out of the sky, and then it just disappeared. And then they're like, well, maybe they'll get, And it's like right now, once again, it's kind of like the Chris Paul thing. We're winning, so nobody's really knocking on the door. When we dropped a few, it was like, why haven't they made the trade yet?
Yeah.
Just get, whoever you can get for them at this point will be fine. But it's kind of weird. It's weird.
Yeah. It's definitely weird. I know for what, like, if I had to choose who I would want for the Suns to get it, personally, I would like for them to get a guy like Bogdanovich from Atlanta. Personally, I think he'd be a phenomenal scoring option off the bench, especially if they're all healthy. I think that would be amazing. But, and especially if you get a healthy Cameron Johnson and Torrey Craig, who's giving you similar production to what Jay Crowder has given you the past couple years, I think they'll be set if that happens. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a point where all these injuries was happening, and there was all the questions about how far they're going to drop, who's going to step up. And literally everybody on that Phoenix bench has stepped up and played like it's a career year for most of them off that bench. And Cameron Payne, this is such a young team, so he does come in and push the tempo, and they love to run. Chris Moore, methodical, he thinks a lot, but I love this team, man. I love how they running. I love how they getting up and down the court. They shooting the ball like they finally got into that new age of basketball, just letting it fly.
Yeah, I think with Chris Paul on the, I was saying with Chris Paul on the court, it was almost like one passes it to Paul, passes it to Booker passes it to Paul. They just kind of figure it out, and that's that. Where now it's like everybody, I feel like, is getting a piece of the ball on offense at some point. Like everybody just looks better. I mean, Ayton looks more mobile, in the post and the mid range. It's just a different. It looks a little different with Payne out there. And you have to think at this point with James Jones, he's gonna get a pretty big, or at least a pretty valuable deal for Crowder at this point if he's held out this long. And other teams are seeing they need that 3-and-D guy that Crowder can still be for them. It's like, okay, if we still want to make a push, let's just go ahead and give them what they're wanting and get it done because they're fine without Crowder, but we kind of need them, So
right.
Yep. Patience is a virtue. They're just waiting until like it gets to like near the trade deadline and teams are desperate for that 3-and-D guy. And they look at their roster, they look at their record at that time. And they're like, you know what? We need a guy like this. Let's just give them what they want to make this happen. So yeah. I think patience is going to pay off for the Suns here, in my opinion.
Yeah, and James knows that. I think even it was a quote from Cliff Kingsbury in Hard Knocks, as funny as that is, where I think he said, you win one game, you're the best coach in the league. You lose one game, you're the worst coach in the league. And I think that's fair for Jones too, because drop a few, you're the worst GM. You're not doing your job. Win a few. Oh, he's got it figured out. It's all going to his plan. He's a genius. It's all with the narrative. So
yeah.
All right. Is there anything besides Devin Booker should be an MVP favorite anybody wants to talk about with these Suns? I think it's crazy how much disrespect he's getting with the numbers he's putting up, not even to just be mentioned with the MVP along with Giannis and Luka and Jason Tatum.
I mean, and I think I want more. He had a 40 night last night, but I at least would want to see him get more 30 nights. I think that kind of when you get 30 nights, it changes the whole narrative. When you're hitting, low 20s, people kind of tend to brush you off, especially in the whole MVP race. Like they care about assists, they care about rebounds, not too much at his position, but I think he has to get a couple more 30 nights under his belt, like he kind of did with the 40 piece he dropped last night. And it's like he can really enter that conversation more versus just Phoenix fans saying, oh, he deserves to be up there.
Yeah, and to echo off that, before the 40 point, he did have a non-typical Devin Booker week in terms of like efficiency wise. Like yeah. I think what was it, the game against Utah, if I'm not mistaken, when DeAndre Ayton had 29-21. He had 27 points, but he also was 8 of 27.
Yeah,
So like he had a
280 that
couple
game.
he had a couple of inefficient games these past home stretches. And I think at home, for whatever reason, he doesn't shoot as well at home as opposed to when he's on the road. And maybe that's like a competitive thing. I have no idea. Maybe it's just because it just happens. It's basketball. That stuff happens. But you would like to just see a little bit more efficiency than put up these trends of games going for you. And I think a lot of people will start putting him in that spot. But for right now, I know he's just happy that team's winning, so he can care less.
I
yeah.
think with
Of
how
all the
well
few,
balanced the Suns are, it would be tough for him too because they got talent all around. They don't just need, you got Giannis out there putting up 40 every night, but
Mm-hmm.
they need him to do that. They don't need Booker. I mean, he was putting up 22 against the Jazz, and they still won. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. If you got Aiden doing 2020, you got Bridges who, people forget about him, but when he gets it going, and he does it efficiently. So at that point for Booker, it's like, okay, I can get away with a 21 point, 4 assist night, and we
yeah,
win. I'm good. But of all the future faces of the league, I think he probably gets nitpicked at the most for some reason. People just love to nitpick at him. So it's like he can have, like Franklin said, that night where he scored 20 something, but his efficiency was down, and people were like, "Yeah, but look how many shots it took." So
You think the way he stepped up his defense though doesn't have anything to affect on the MVP race? Not really stepped it up, but he's turned into a shutdown defender, like Franklin said earlier.
I
Yeah,
think
no,
it,
it definitely plays a role. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Jason Tatum is one of the best two-way players, and he's in the MVP race. I think the one thing with Jason Tatum and all these guys though is they're averaging over 30, so it kind of goes back to um, Chris's point of like just needing a little bit more 30 points so that I can get those points per game numbers up. Because for whatever reason, a lot of people really love the points per game portion of the MVP. Like a lot of people love scoring. It's the entertainment business. So if
yeah.
you're not scoring, you're probably not going to win MVP. I think the biggest thing for Jokic the past couple years and why he won was one, he did a lot. He did more with less, but it was the point where not only was he scoring a ton, but like his all around game in terms of rebounding and assists as a big man was like something we have never seen before, and that really elevated him. With D Book, it's kind of more along the lines of when you see like 27 and like 5 and 4, you're kind of like, okay, we've seen that before, like we know who you are. Your team is good. How are you going to do in the postseason type of thing? So it's kind of like this. It's kind of like just the same old, and a lot of people are kind of just like on it. But make no mistake about it, he's the best two guard in the league. So
oh
he
yeah.
definitely solidified that for sure after last year.
All right, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this week. Lamar Fields, Chris Denson, Franklin Miller, Jacob Harden. I'm Rowan Donaghy. For up to date and coverage on all Phoenix sports, burncity.com. This has been Phil the Burn podcast presented by Burn City Sports. Thank y'all. Have a good one.